McNeese State gets their first ever Big Ten W, and it comes at the expense of Michigan. Welcome in here on the Michigan Basketball Postgame Extra. It is a final down at the Chrysler Center. Not a good news for the Maize and Blue as they fall to the Cowboys of McNeese State 87-76 in a game where McNeese State came out and they were the aggressors. They had the lead for the majority of the game, the entire second half, and they cruise to the double-digit victory over Michigan. And this is the low point of the Juwan Howard head coaching career at Michigan. Now, last year, Michigan didn't make the NCAA tournament, and you could say, well, did you watch that Central game last year where a bad Central team ran Michigan off the floor after the Christmas break? And yeah, I did watch that one, and that was telling, but, you'd earned a little bit. I think the Michigan team, with the way that they had played the previous seasons and even the previous year hadn't gone well, but they found a way to right the ship and then make the NCAA tournament. And then they didn't last year. So to come out of the holiday break this year after knowing what happened last year and lay an egg like they did tonight, it's not a head scratcher. You go back and you say, well, where this is on the players. And I would say, yeah. And then you would say, well, it's on the coaches too. Yeah. I mean, if you want to have an argument, is it more on the players? It's on the coaches. Last year I felt like it was on the players. You come out and you let a team like Central beat you. This year, to come back and have it happen again when lightning strikes twice, you got to go to the coaching staff, and that's where it is at right now. And this thing is this thing doesn't look good. I mean, they started the season out with such promise after the first couple of games, but it has been a rough ride since, and tonight the shakiest. So that's where it's at. Let's get into it. We'll take some of your feedback. I thought everybody would be watching the football game, but, we do have some people checking in on this game, as you might expect when it's one like this. Well, Michigan, they went with the starting lineup that they have in every game this year, with the exception of one, and that is McDaniels and Burnett in the backcourt with TW2, Kamwa, and Terrace Reed Jr. up front. And this was game number 13 on the season for the Wolverines, back on the hardwood after the Christmas break. The final non-conference game of the year, hosting McNeese State, Joe Dumar's alma mater. It was the Cowboys in the first half getting up by a dozen, but then U of M did fight back, and they took the lead for just a second, but it was McNeese State at the end of the half with a little bit of a flurry there, and they end up with the lead at the half by 3, 40-37. But into the second half, the Cowboys got that double-digit lead back early in the second half. I think it took them about 6.5 minutes, almost 7 minutes to get that double-digit lead back. Michigan did get it to single digits, but McNeese State, got it back up to double digits, and they led most of this game and all of the second half, and they go on to the 87-76 victory, and that is that. Where does Michigan go from here? Well, they don't play again till Thursday, so they got another long time to work on some things in practice. It'll be interesting to see. There's a rumor about one of the players out on the floor that possibly he might not be with Michigan after the second semester starts, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But, as soon as you think, hey, the news can't get any worse, we'll see. But, the way they played tonight, there's a lot of it like, does it matter if something like that happens, which is a legitimate point. Let's check the upcoming schedule. Just alluded to it. It's brought to you by the Maize and Blue Reviews. Good afternoon, Michigan football and basketball. That show can be heard Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays right here on this feed that you're watching or listening to right now. And for that upcoming schedule, you look, Michigan, they will, they're done with the non-conference slate. So now it's the Big Ten, and they will host, Michigan will, Minnesota to kick off the new year on the 4th. That's Thursday, 9 o'clock. That game is scheduled on Peacock. If you have that, then it's Penn State, 2 home games, start things out, and then at Maryland. Look at that. 4 out of the first 5 are at the Chrysler Center. So if they're going to do anything, you can look at these first 5 and say, hey, you better come out and win the majority of those. And, not a lot of ranked teams there either. So that might be one of the things. I mean, if you're looking for anything, I mean, that's what you look at. I think looking at the schedule, you see some winnable games there, and 4 out of the 5 being at home is also something that you would say if they, had an idea of turning this thing around, this is going to be it. Going 3-2, I would say would have to be a must for this team. But starting it out, let's just say beating Minnesota. Let's just go there first and then go from there. Let's look at the scoring tonight for Michigan. Not a lot of good things to look at in this game here. But right off the top, if there was a positive, and you'd say it's not a bad question, were there any positives for Michigan tonight? And I would say Terrence Williams II, 5 of 9 from the floor, including 4 of 8 from downtown, 20 points for TW2. And he was 6 of 7 from the charity stripe. That's a good game for the Michigan captain. Doug McDaniel, 17 points, 8 boards and 5 assists. Nice stat line there for Doug, but Olivier Kamwa got shut out in the first half, had 17 points in the second half, 7 boards, 3 assists. But here's the rest. Namari Burnett, a line of 6 points, 4 boards, 2 assists. Terrace Reed Jr., a couple goose eggs, no points, 4 boards, no assists, just 0 of 1 from the field. Yeah, that's a shake your head type situation. I would also say the same thing about Will Cheddar. Did get to double figures, but there was nothing there when you watched him. You were like, okay. Cheddar, 11 points, 5 boards, no feeds. Trey Jackson, 3 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. Michigan did go a little bit deeper. Yo-Yo got some time early in the first half, helped Michigan to come back and actually take the lead. I think Yo-Yo was out on the floor when that happened. With Yo-Yo, he ends up getting 2 points and 2 boards. George Washington III got a little bit of burn in the first half and launched a shot. And that was it when you come down to it. Not a lot of fun when you go through this. Here's somebody saying a moral victory. Yeah, there's no moral victory. No, nothing. The morale, I would say, of the fan base, if it's not broken, it is severely dented. Like I said, the low point of the Juwan Howard era, certainly out on the floor. And, this is not acceptable. Fire Juwan. Look, I think that there'll be a lot of fans that will be calling for Juwan Howard's head after this one. And I think that is understandable. Now, I don't think that Ward Manuel should, and I know that he will not fire him after tonight's game. Like, I'm not expecting before the Rose Bowl that, hey, the news out of Ann Arbor, Juwan Howard. I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't think, unless there's, something that's on the floor with the team. I mean, those are all, but I don't think, Juwan Howard's going to get fired during the season. I know people want that when things get really bad. Like tonight was really bad. And so when you have things that are really bad, people always want to take, they want to go one up on you. They want it to end now. They say, well, what's the point of having it? Look, Juwan Howard is a Michigan man. And that counts for something, having played at Michigan, and he will get the entire season. Now, I thought that, heading into the year, there was a lot of people like, this is over. People are already thinking that was going to be the case looking at this roster. And I thought that was, understandable as well. But I was thinking that, the patience that Ward Manuel showed Jim Harbaugh, knowing Ward, this was his picking Juwan Howard, he would show that same kind of patience. Now, I know you could say, yeah, but Jim had all this success in the NFL and coaching before, he deserved it more. And I think that's true. But I still think before the season that, and I don't know if I said it here, but I probably did. I said it, that I could still see Ward, showing that patience when the majority of the fan base would be like, let's go. When you play games like this, and then what was the story of last year's season of not making the tournament? Michigan had at least 6 games that they were one possession games in the last 5 minutes, and they lost them all. And then they had a few this year. You go back and look at some of them out in Oregon and another overtime game. Last week it was kind of the same thing. It's like, wow, man, this team can play you close, but then they lose at the end. And that's not, I don't know if that's a moral victory, but it is something. The something is that they can stay at least competitive throughout a game, even though they lose them at the end. And it is a win-loss type proposition, ultimately. I get that. What I'm saying is when there are games like tonight, when a team from the Southland conference comes in and pops you and runs you off your own floor, and you've got your own home color analyst, the great Terry Mills, in the first half saying, I don't know, Michigan, they just look out of sorts. That was the same kind of crap that he was saying last year about the team against Central. And to come out and play like that again, it is unacceptable. So, if there's ever, and you can't play the card very often where you turn over a table or you throw a basketball. And, for Juwan Howard, I would say that any kind of a emotional outburst would not be smart for him, considering his track record. But looking everybody in the eye after this one and saying there's going to be some changes or he's going to be playing some different guys, this is BS. Call it like it is. I don't want to hear like, whoa, we're going to have to really work hard and I don't want to hear the coach speak. He, the thing about, whether Ward will, they would make a move. If there's games like tonight, the Chrysler Center will be empty by the end of the year. That will speak volumes for the athletic director who have to sit there and watch it. And he better be, then preparing something. But I better hear, some poignant comments from Juwan Howard on why his team, had a big stank bomb tonight coming out of the Christmas break with all of that time. Again. Hey, Juwan, why is lightning struck twice on this team? Why doesn't your team guard anybody? Why doesn't your team have the effort? And when you say those things like, oh, there's, Juwan could fire back at you, you'd say, look, Juwan, your team, letting you guys don't get back in transition. McNeese State's running a layup line on you guys on your home floor. What's that? Call these guys out for what they are if you're the head coach. Or you're standing for it. You're allowing it. You're enabling it. So that's what it comes down to. If we just have a ho-hum, Juwan, let's look at the stat sheet. Oh, yeah, that wasn't good. We need to get back and do none of that. We better get him telling everyone what's going to happen. You get all the support in the world from the Michigan family, the Michigan basketball family, but, not now. Crossroads, call it whatever you want. Yeah, everybody's looking forward to the Rose Bowl. I don't, not really care. People are watching the Buckeyes tonight, but they'll look over at that score and what the hell? Maybe they'll watch this before this or listen to this podcast before the start of the Rose Bowl. Say, hey, what's everyone saying? What everyone's saying is that they need to get their crap together or this thing is over. And we need to coach, you don't need to show the fire in terms of what we have seen with the strength and conditioning coach or what he's doing against the Wisconsin coach or what he's doing against the Maryland coach. We need to see that fire directed at his team. I'm not advocating slapping or, punching any of his players or having an emotional outburst. I don't know what he needs to do there. Maybe have somebody else do it. Because that's an issue with him. He'd say, well, maybe, he'll retire. I don't know, he'll step down. Maybe. I don't know. Are you going to leave the money on the table? Probably not. So that's the spot that we're in. I mean, it's a terrible spot. I'll take some feedback before I go. OT wants to see some more of Yo-Yo. Me too. Carlos says he thinks Martelli used more bench players. I like his rotation. Well, that's not a comment that is not lost on me. The team played better for Phil Martelli. The team played harder for Martelli than they have for Juwan. So I don't know. Poor roster management, team obviously lacking energy, lazy D. The year of the pandemic. That Michigan basketball team was one of my favorite teams of all time. And I've been watching this team since the early 80s. I love that team. That team, I don't know, say they came out of nowhere, but nobody was predicting them to win the Big Ten. They were predicted, I don't know, 5th or 6th, maybe 5th. That would seem like optimistic. And then they won the Big Ten. And then they validated it, their Big Ten title by the way they played in the NCAA tournament. And they were that close. They had Franz Wagner with a wide open 3 to get to the Final Four. They actually had another shot or two against UCLA to, get to the Final Four. I love that team. And I loved everything. Juwan Howard and the assistants. I went through there and I'm like, man, Martelli, the way he's in Isley in Washington, all of it. And now that looks like a distant memory, everything. You got to keep bringing it. That's how. So, it's not like I was ever really down. I was the exact opposite from where I am at right now. So that's it. Yeah. Again, the fan stuff is about, firing a coach in season. That's not going to happen. It does suck. And, you point to a lot of different things. The Long Beach State game, it's defense. It's coaching. Put Sadi up there. Yeah, an effort situation is sad. Yeah, I'm there as well. I'm not going this far, going back to Brian Ellerby. But you know what? Like, when you play like this, the fans are going to come after you. And I would say, what do you expect? Fans are fans. SD talking about the wasting scholarships and having some nepotism. I put that up there because I think it's true. What do I think of Missouri hanging in there with OSU? I hate, I don't know, I hate to say this. I was concentrating on the basketball game, OT. After this, I'm going to go watch the football game. Go U of M. Will Wade's a big cheater. We are fine. Will Wade is a big cheater, but remember this. If the cheating involves a level 1 violation, the most serious level 1 violation of paying players to come to your school. People are so used to that, and fans, they're like, big time, big fat 6-figure deals that are on wiretaps with the FBI. Who cares? Nothing happens there. Play at LSU. Everybody's used to all that kind of stuff. Bring back the monster and the Zach Novak days. There's a Cowboy fan. How about those Cowboys? Oh, boy. Matt saying that, I don't know, level 2. Is level 2 for paying players? Is that? I thought my NCAA handbook knowledge, I thought it was a level 1 for illegally paying players. You're saying that he just got hit with a level 1? Okay. I'm with you. CK was hoping for more on the recruiting front. Well, on the recruiting front, Juwan, I actually think did a pretty good job. You think about the Hunter Dickinsons, you think about the 2 5-stars that he was able to get in Musa Diabate and Caleb Houston, and they really didn't turn out. And, even Franz Wagner, getting him, and I know that his brother played there, so that, you might not want to give him the credit there. I give him the credit, for having him on there and these first couple years. And then, on the recruiting front, with the way that you can pay players with name, image, and likeness but you can't promise them the money. That's been Michigan's strategy that helps in football, where, down the line, they have to stay for 3 years, and basketball just 1 year. So they are looking to get paid. So that hurt him a little bit. I think if Juwan was sitting here and we were all just talking about it, I think he would say, what do you think talking about recruiting? Nobody's going to come here. We had the dude that's blown up at the USC, the number 1 point guard. He was going to come here, but USC's like, hey, here's $1 million. And we could say, hey, after a year or two, at NIL, you can get paid maybe $100,000. But then at the same time, you had Hunter coming out saying, I made chump change at Michigan. That dude, what was it, Isaiah Collier? Is that his name? That dude was like, I'm not going to Michigan. So Mark saying, how much did Michigan pay McNeese State? I don't know. Incoming basketball class is pretty good. Yeah. Connie Ruths out of IMG, the number 33 overall player in the 24 class. Christian Anderson out of Atlanta, Georgia. I'm excited to see him. Fat Brooks. I have not seen any tape on him out of the Grand Rapids area. Another guard. Yeah. Nice players. OT talking some football and NIL. Will Wade in an NIL era would bring everyone into U of M. Just hire him after the presser. I don't know. Yeah, well, that's it. That's it. I thought I was only going to do the 5-minute show tonight, but sometimes things happen. Thanks so much for watching, listening. We're here after every Michigan basketball game. We look forward to the conference season resuming. Michigan taking on Minnesota. Coming up, is it this Thursday? It is. Today's Friday, so they're off until Thursday. We got some things between now and then to take care of. I did see right before I was coming on, I was just read on Twitter, and I saw a note that said both Alabama and Michigan are refusing to take team photos tomorrow. So I don't know, like this whole thing, like, the tablets, watch out, catapult. That's all happening. You're trying to fire this thing up before Monday. I mean, that's still alive, but I'm thinking about Monday. And we will see you after the Michigan-Alabama game right here on this feed. If you just tune in to listen or hear about basketball, we'll talk with you Thursday after Michigan, Minnesota. Tonight, 87-76. It goes to the McNeese State Cowboys. Everybody have themselves a great night and Happy New Year.